I think there's a few issues or a few problems with the accountability structure. One is that we all are held accountable. Leonard Brock cannot be held accountable for poverty reduction. And to some degree, when we look at the guiding principles, and not to make reference to racial inequity and disparities and things of that nature, it's easy to find areas in which to blame or individuals. But think about the reinforcing of that, where you may have individuals who come from the environment, who are doing the work of poverty reduction, and the person is accountable. It's very similar to individuals. A conversation I had the other day, when there was a person who I grew up with. He said, "I would hate to be you." And that's the complete wrong message that you want to convey. And the reason why he said he would hate to be me is because, you grew up in a neighborhood, you got yourself out of the neighborhood, you work in a supported neighborhood, and you blame for everything that you had to overcome in the neighborhood. And it discourages people from wanting to be part of the work. And it was like the epiphany when he said it. I'm like, dang, the last thing I want to do is to be an example of doing good work and people avoiding that because they being responsible and held responsible and accountable for something that they can't control for. So that's not necessarily to take responsibility off of what I'm asked to do, which is to kind of create the process that will galvanize community support, because that's still important. But I think that narrative is something that we have to shift in Rochester in order to help people understand that one person, one agency, or one effort is not responsible for poverty reduction, but we're all held responsible and accountable. For example, the county is responsible for poverty reduction. The city is responsible for poverty reduction. The Regional Economic Development Council has an explicit goal to reduce poverty as it relates to their strategic framework and their plan for the upstate revitalization effort. But the only persons that are ask the question of what we're doing as it relates to poverty becomes those of us, and me in particular as the executive director for the Anti-Poverty Initiative. And that paints a picture that we need to actually shift. We need to paint a different picture, because if that's the case, it's very easy for no one to be held accountable, when in reality they have the agency and the resources that could do much more than me as the person that's responsible for creating the process to allow for them to work together more effectively and efficiently.